Yanagi is truly a unique character thanks to the fact she can trigger Disorder even on mono-electric team compositions. But do you know how much damage you lose running Yanagi in a mono-electric team instead of Disorder-focused one? Timestamps are in the video, but I highly recommend you to watch everything because there's a lot of cool tips that can help you maximize your damage. Ready? Let's go! Yanagi is an Anomaly unit from Section 6 that shines in Disorder-focused teams. Thanks to all the build-up bonuses, iframes and kits, she's an incredible on-field unit. But since shocks the damage over time Anomaly, unless you Disorder it, you are always limited on how much DPS you can deal to the enemy. About 85% of Yanagi's damage comes from Anomaly-related effects, meaning that you want to focus a lot on Anomaly proficiency in order to maximize her damage. Now let's take a closer look at her kit. Basic attack is really interesting because Yanagi has access to two different stances, Jogen and Kagen, and each one is going to provide a buff for you. You can swap stances whenever you use a special attack, chain attacks, and assist follow-ups. Swapping stances let you keep the previous stance buff for 8 seconds, so ideally you want to keep both of them active all the time. Both stances are pretty much the same when it comes to damage and build-up stats, and the only difference here is the moveset and iframes. You only get electric damage from the third hit forward, but luckily almost all of your skills are going to give you basic attack skips, which allows you to start from the third basic attack. The only exception is your dash attack. Speaking of dash attack, it is simply not great, and I highly recommend to avoid using it. It only deals physical damage, and it doesn't give basic attack skips. Dodge counter is quite interesting since it allows you to get closer to the enemy, it is fast, and has a decent damage and build-up. However, there are other ways for you to avoid taking damage. The special attack allows you to change your stances, and if you cast it after your third basic attack, you also block enemy attacks during the animation, and it gives a basic attack skip. It is important to know that casting your special attack won't cancel your basic attack animations, so sometimes you still need to dodge enemy attacks instead of blocking with your special attack. EX special is one of the main points of Yanagi's kit, because the finishing move triggers a special disorder effect called Polarity Disorder, which won't remove the original anomaly from the enemy. Polarity Disorder scales with the original Disorder's damage and Yanagi's Anomaly proficiency. This means that Anomaly proficiency has double the scaling for Polarity Disorder, one for the Anomaly proficiency bonus and another one for the additional base damage. It also means that Polarity Disorder will scale with the remaining duration of your Anomaly. If this sounds confusing for you, check out my Anomaly guide because it explains all of the scalings for Anomaly and Disorder. Another really cool feature from your EX special is the Shinra Bansho buff, which pretty much allows you to always start your basic string from the third hit. This buff lasts for 15 seconds, so there's enough room for you to keep this active all the time. Assists are all interesting, both quick assists and assist follow-ups. However, the long animation on your assist follow-up can be a bit of a damage loss. So unless you need to start with the stance swap it provides, I would actually avoid using assist follow-ups. Chain attack is quite bad, and unless you're looking for a bang boot chain attack, I would recommend you skip it. It gives a stance swap, which is quite interesting for buff uptime. However, the animation takes 2 seconds, which could be better used for disorder triggers, for example. Build-up is also way smaller than your basic attack string, so honestly, I see little value in using your chain attack. Ultimate, on the other hand, can be interesting. It gives a Polarity Disorder trigger and a huge build-up that can be used for a fast shock on the enemy. However, it has no stance swaps on it, so remember to trigger both buffs before using your ultimate, and always keep in mind to avoid wasting shock damage with overrides. And finally, let's take a look at Yanagi's core. It increases the damage multiplier from Disorder by 250% for all disorders on your team. For some reason, I thought this was a 2.5 multiplier for your Disorder damage, but it's not. You remember the default 450% damage from Disorder? Well, Yanagi is going to increase it to 700. That's all. It is still a huge damage increase, and Polarity Disorder also benefits from it. It also provides 20 damage for Yanagi whenever she hits the enemy with an EX special. This means that you can get a total of 30 damage and 10% penetration for free just by using all of Yanagi's available buffs. Her additional ability increases your basic attack's build-up by 45% whenever you switch stances. This lasts for the same duration of your stance buffs, so it's really easy for you to track. Now that you understand both the good and bad points of Yanagi's kit, let's take a closer look at some key points you need to keep in mind when playing. Despite the stance mechanic, Yanagi isn't as complex as you may think. All you need to do is tap your special attack after finishing 1 or 2 basic attack strings, and there you go. Basic attack 5 is your main source of energy gain, and this is quite important to maximize your EX special uses. That's why I like using the Kagen stance, since it allows me to swap cancel to another unit while doing the long animation on the 5th hit. You need to avoid using EX specials before triggering an anomaly with the enemy, since losing a Polarity Disorder trigger will hurt your DPS. While skipping chain attack is bad for your decibels generation, Yanagi's Polarity Disorder generates decibels, so ultimate charge is not going to be a problem for you. Polarity Disorder won't share cooldowns with Disorders, and you can even trigger both of them at the same time, so don't worry about it when casting your EX special or ultimate. The only problem is overriding shocks. Since Polarity Disorder doesn't remove the anomaly from the enemy, you can end up overriding shock before triggering a second disorder. Yanagi is a really great unit even for free-to-play players, however, the damage difference between a free-to-play Yanagi and a more premium team is quite huge. And to maximize damage, you need to fine-tune your stats and builds in order to avoid too much build-up or build another anomaly unit to maximize your disorder potential. As for rotations, Yanagi combos pretty much mashing your basic attack button and using special attacks whenever you finish 2 basic attack strings. Of course, this isn't going to be a reality on most combat scenarios, so feel free to use special attacks after every string or whenever you feel the need to. Just keep in mind that losing buffs will lower all your damage potential, from Anomaly to Disorder and even Polarity Disorder. Use your EX special to trigger Polarity Disorders right after triggering Anomaly on the enemy. This allows you to get the maximum possible damage and keep the enemy debuffed for another 20% electric damage. This means that your skill upgrade priority should be the following one. Focus on your cores, increase all of your team disorder damage, followed by EX special and ultimate, since it increases how much of your anomaly proficiency will be added to the polarity disorder. After that, either ignore everything or just level up basic attacks and assists. Dodges are barely used on Yanagi, so leave it as your last priority. Now, before talking about builds, weapons, and teams, if you are enjoying this video, I would highly appreciate it if you leave a like and write in the comments down below why you're pulling or skipping Yanagi. And consider joining the Discord server for early access to calculations, deeper discussions, and of course joining the community. That's all. Back to the video. Yanagi can be played on both disorder-focused compositions and mono-electric teams, and each one will get a small difference on how you should approach and build Yanagi. For now, let's start with the disorder-focused build. For this one, Chaos Jazz 4 pieces is the best set available for Yanagi. It offers 30 anomaly proficiency and 50% electric damage. For the last 2-piece effect, Freedom Blues is your best choice due to Yanagi high scaling with anomaly proficiency. All of the other options are close to each other when it comes to DPS potential. When it comes to stacking penetration, if you run Rina with a penetration disc 5, Puffer and Freedom Blues are close enough for you to use the one with best stats. Speaking of stats, disc 4 is anomaly proficiency, and I don't think there's a need to explain this one. For disc 5, damage is one of the best options, but penetration can be used as well. I don't recommend going for attack here, since you can get attack as a substat on both damage and penetration discs. Finally, for disc 6, overall Anomaly Mastery is the best option, since it allows you to trigger faster shocks and disorders on the enemy. Attack has a higher damage potential, however, it requires other build-up sources to compensate for the lack of Anomaly Mastery. For substats, Anomaly Proficiency is your top priority, followed by attack percentage, flat attack, and penetration. For weapons, Yanagi's signature is by far the best option, and it's not even close. I'm not even talking about the 75 Anomaly Proficiency, but because it gives a unique multiplier for all disorder triggers. The damage potential of her signature weapon is completely unmatched, and if you can't go for her signature weapon, the best options would be Fusion Compiler and Whipping Gemini. Whipping Gemini has a lot of potential, especially for disorder-focused teams, but requires some extra setup and has a low damage right in the beginning. Fusion Compiler has higher front-loaded damage, but cannot compete with a full stacked Whipping Gemini. Now, for mono-electric team compositions, things change a little bit, and while playable, the damage potential here is way smaller than a disorder team. That's because disorders are Yanagi's main source of damage, but running a mono-electric team removes the possibility of disorder and leaves only polarity disorders for you. For this set, Standard Metal 4-piece is the best option here, since it gives 28% combat attack buff as long as the enemy is shocked. This is easily achievable for Yanagi, and even easier on mono-electric team compositions. For the last 2-piece set, you should go for either Freedom Blues or Chaos Jazz, since they will provide extra anomaly proficiency for you. For disc stats, once again, disc 4 should be anomaly proficiency. Even without disorder, shocks and polarity disorder makes most of your damage. For disc 5, damage is the best option, but penetration can be used if you find a lot of damage sources. And for disc 6, you should definitely run attack instead of anomaly mastery here. While polarity disorders can squeeze some extra damage from shocks, since you're not triggering disorder, extra shocks brings no value for you. Substat priority are the same as before, anomaly proficiency on the top, followed by attack percentage, flat attack, and finally penetration. And for weapons, once again, her signature weapon will be the best one. But since you're not triggering a lot of disorders, the damage difference here is smaller when compared to disorder teams. Outside of her signature weapon, Fusion Compiler and Electro Lip Gloss will be your best picks. Whipping Gemini suffers here since you need a lot of time to fully benefit from shock damage, and this means stacking Gemini will take a lot of time. Now that you have a better idea of how to build Yanagi, let's take a look at her Mindscapes and the value they can bring to her. Mindscape 1 offers some interesting damage potential since Yanagi scales really well with anomaly proficiency. Mindscape 2 is completely insane since 20% decreases your Polarity Disorder base damage and adds another scaling for it at the cost of an extra 20 energy for the maximum damage potential. Mindscape 3 and 5 increases your EX special and ultimate level, which means increases anomaly proficiency scaling on Polarity Disorders. However, as you can see here, the damage increase isn't that high. Mindscape 4 is quite interesting since penetration isn't widely available in the game, and since Yanagi herself already gets 10% penetration, you can stack it for even further DPS. Finally, Mindscape 6 is so insane that allows your Polarity Disorders to hit harder than actual disorder damage. Some players may consider running energy regeneration to increase your EX special uses, however, I highly advise against it, since most of your energy comes from basic attacks. Using energy regeneration will remove a lot of damage from you. While all of Yanagi's Mindscapes offer interesting damage potential, I highly recommend you to invest on at least a single copy of her signature weapon before diving into her Mindscapes. And while increasing Polarity Disorder damage offers a huge damage increase, if you're lacking pulse, saving for another Anomaly unit might be your best choice, since Yanagi increases all of your squad disorder potential. To finish it up, let's talk about Yanagi Teambuilding. She's better paired with a secondary non-electric anomaly agent to benefit from maximum disorder damage. The lower the field time required for this second anomaly unit, the better for Yanagi, who needs energy to keep using as many EX specials as possible. For the support slot, team-wide buffs are better since it increases both anomaly units' damage potential. So for example, the best team composition available in the game right now is Yanagi, Rina, and Bernice. Rina requires a lot of swaps, so not everyone likes playing Rina, so Caesar or Lucy can be used instead. Lucy offers team-wide buffs that are better suited for this team, but Caesar buffs are quite huge, and also the extra protection can help you in harder content. A more free-to-play team here would be Yanagi, Piper, Lucy. However, keeping Piper stacks with 100% uptime while also dealing with Yanagi's stances can be a bit of a problem. You can also play Yanagi as a hyper carry, however, you will lose a lot of damage since you won't be able to trigger disorders. For this, you can pick two different support units to provide Yanagi as many stats as you can. The best ones here are Caesar and Rina, followed by Seth, Nicole, and Lucy. Nicole is a bit weird since stacking penetration with defense red gives diminishing returns. However, Nicole provides a lot of utility, and defense red doesn't need to be applied on the enemy while building up Anomaly. I don't recommend running Grace here despite the extra shock damage, because it doesn't increase disorder damage, and it's better for you to increase Yanagi stats for higher Polarity Disorder damage. That's everything about Yanagi, and if this guide helped you, remember to give it a like and share with other players. And if you're looking for more Zenless Zone Zero content, be sure to subscribe as well. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below or join my Discord server. As usual, thanks for watching, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in my next video.